Good morning. I'm meteorologist Robert Spetta. It is the 2 o'clock advisory for Hurricane Debby, which continues to strengthen here as it nears the Florida coast right around the Big Bend area. Pressure now down to 981 millibars. Winds at 80 miles per hour in that center of circulation. That is in that inner core. Now, you don't expect 80 mile per hour winds all across this big old area of cloud cover, but what we do have is a lot of rain in the forecast and that threat of tornadoes. So let's break down your impacts here across the northern half of Florida, extending into Georgia over towards the Carolinas and county by county here on the first coast. First, let's take a look at the track. You know, this is still a Category 1, likely going to be coming on shore as a Cat 1 here during your morning hours here on Monday before it tracks off towards the north and east, moving across actually just towards the west of Lake City here, a weakening, but as it does so, it's really just going to be losing a lot of that moisture, and all of that is going to be falling down here. We're looking at a tremendous amount of precipitation across southeastern areas of Georgia, especially before it slowly drifts off towards the east. It almost stalls out here, thus getting persistent precipitation not only throughout the course of Monday, but even heading into Tuesday as well. All right, take a look at some of our warnings here. Hurricane warnings now extending well inland all the way out there just towards the west of Lake City into the Valdosta area. Tropical storm warnings in place all across the first coast too. The intensity is still on track with what we were expecting here yesterday and the day prior with that Cat 1 coming on shore. But the big difference is that there was a slight jog, only a few miles, but a slight jog towards the east, and thus that's the reason why those tropical storm warnings are now extended all the way out here towards the coast. One more reason why we continue to say check back in for the latest updates, just in case the forecast even changes as the slightest. It could even change up some of the impacts here with your forecast. Still going to look at not only tropical storm warnings where you're expecting those gusty conditions, but even a storm surge warning in place now for our coastal counties in southeastern Georgia as those winds wrap around on the back side of it. You could be seeing upwards about 2, maybe 5 feet of water levels above the average high tide in those areas. All right, so take a look at satellite and radar. Let's break down what we got at this moment, kind of giving you the facts here, not trying to hype this up or anything, let you know what we're seeing. And at this time, one of the big things I'm noticing is, of course, that eye wall trying to develop right in here. That's really this inner core right there. That's where you're seeing those winds at 80 miles per hour based on what the hurricane hunters just picked up as they were flying through here. But also these bands, it's just extending from Ocala up I-75 towards Gainesville and even entering in the Lake City area. These are where you're going to be seeing that highest threat for potential tornadoes. These quick little spin ups that could be developing. They move fairly fast with the forward motion of the storm. Just last night we actually had several tornadoes reported, and those were moving at about 40 miles per hour forward motion. So if you ever get those warnings near you, make sure you take kind of your, get into your safe place and just make sure you take shelter here. Look at the tornado watch in place through this morning all across the first coast, northern Florida, southern areas of Georgia. And this is where we actually had just around 7 o'clock several reports of tornadoes. Now this may end up being the same tornado. It just kind of got lifted up and then put back down here. But point is, already we have confirmation of damage on the ground from a tornadic cell and some of these rain bands here on Sunday evening, and this same threat is going to continue as we carry over towards our Monday as the storm comes on shore. So of course that is one of the main issues with this, of course, the winds in the center, those tornadic bands that are wrapping on around, and that heavy rainfall. The hurricane hunters, well, they did do their laps out here and picked up that pressure. It was down to 980 millibars out of it, and just indicating the storm continuing to strengthen. Let's look at that hour-by-hour Futurecast with that low-level center coming on shore just after sunrise here on our Monday morning. Moving off towards the north and east by about 9-10 o'clock. Lake City, you're going to start to see the worst of it as that initial band, what you would call an eye wall, starts to pass around your area. I'm expecting winds that could be up to tropical storm strength sustained, maybe some gusts up to about 70 miles per hour in some of the highest areas. Those bands continue to wrap in out ahead of this over towards Jacksonville and all across the first coast through the later morning into the afternoon hours and even lingering into the evening before things start to taper off by Monday night for northern areas of Florida. I would say Monday late evening it'll start to taper off, but it's going to linger for places like Brunswick over towards Waycross, Folkston. In fact, this low-level center may just stall out south of Savannah and even drift towards the east. And if that happens, what we're going to see even heading into Tuesday is that moisture wrapping in around the back side of this. Now, the tornado threat at this point likely is going to be past, but it's the persistent rainfall that we're going to really be switching the gears to. And I think some totals out here could be upwards of 15, maybe even 20 inches at the max for that overall rainfall accumulation. Definitely a flood threat in our forecast here. Look at the different guidance specifically for Lake City, where the storm's going to be passing just near. Kind of gives you an idea. Different models all indicating, that tropical storm strength and near tropical storm strength. The highest winds likely taking place just about 9 to 10 over towards 11 o'clock, and then winds will gradually taper down there for our friends out in Lake City. Broader picture, though, you can see what I'm talking about. This is at 9:20. There you go. 46-mile-per-hour winds, 50 over towards Gainesville. As it kicks on by, of course, that center starts to weaken out, but we still have those winds wrapping it around from the east. Now, this is not sustained. This does not mean you're going to be looking at continuous, for example, winds in Jacksonville at 40 miles per hour. That would be the max wind gust at that hour. So into about dinner time, 5, 6, 7 o'clock. Yeah, we could be looking at some gusts even out near the coast at about 40 to 50 miles per hour, which all within that threshold, that is, of tropical storm strength. And thus we have tropical storm strength warnings, tropical warnings, that is, across the entire first coast. Rainfall is going to be adding up here. Look at this, anywhere in yellow indicating 10 to 15 inches. Some areas possibly getting up to 20 in southeastern areas of Georgia. So the heavy rain impacts definitely on the extreme side. That is going to be very, very high, even extending into Jacksonville. I do think we're going to be looking at a decent flood threat here. Damaging winds, mainly for our western counties across the I-75 corridor. We have a low threat of storm surge, especially into southeastern areas of Georgia right along the coast. And of course, as I've said a few times, that tornado threat is going to be in play there. All right, so the extended forecast, you notice this slows down and the computer models are a little all over the place. I think the higher likelihood is this storm shifting off towards the north, but if this tells you anything, it just shows you the lack of the steering flow due to a high pressure ridge just north of us that is just going to be slowing this down and making the forecast a bit difficult over the extended outlook. And one more reason that we continue to stress, check back in for new updates, and don't be surprised, especially by Wednesday and Thursday, if that long-range forecast does change. For Monday, though, pretty set in stone. We're expecting it to come onshore past just around Lake City out towards Valdosta area, and heavy rainfall even into Jacksonville. Temperatures staying relatively cooler. I mean, if that's one other thing, you can at least think on the positive side. The sun's not going to be out too much, so it's not too hot here. Baker, Union, Bradford, in Columbia County, though, highest of the winds on the first coast, 40 to 70 mile per hour winds here, 8 to 13 inches of rainfall. A spin up tornado, as we already seen in Bradford and Union County. We have that confirmation of some damage on the ground there. And yeah, so secure loose items, prepare for power outages. I think the highest threat for power outages is going to be in those areas. Where Charleston, Brantley, Pierce, Monday morning through Tuesday night, you're going to be looking at the highest winds here, but also that rain, 10 to 20 inches, 30 to 60 mile per hour winds, and of course the tornado threat here too. These are the areas you do want to clean your gutters, move your valuables to higher grounds if you are in a flood prone area. So make sure you are weather aware for that heavy rainfall continue to add up. And even along the coast, by the way, do want to watch out for Monday night's high tide because of that chance of that surge and those winds coming on shore. St. John's and Flagler County through our day here on Monday, winds 15 to 30 sustained. You might get a couple gusts higher than that right along the immediate coastline, like Marineland already has reported gusts over 40 miles per hour. With that rain, about 3 to 6 inches in total. But the other thing is that possibility of tornadoes just due to those bands coming on shore. Well, over towards Clayton, Putnam County, very similar setup here with throughout the day on Monday, but things will taper off by Monday night and also into your Tuesday. Really, it's going to be a lot better here on Tuesday, even for Duval County. After you get past the bulk of those impacts and the storm starts to linger towards the north, we're still going to see rainfall in Duval County, but the highest of those winds will for sure be changed off towards the north. One other thing is just, I can't stress enough, I mean, I'm showing 20 to 40, but just kind of word it out here for you just to make sure you kind of get a little of the headline. We do not expect hurricane conditions in Jacksonville. So if you're thinking, well, we're talking about this storm system, I'm in Jacksonville, do I need to, hunker down and get ready for 70-mile-per-hour winds? Not at all. We're talking about the potential for some decent power outages, more so for the I-75 corridor over towards Lake City. What you do need to worry about in Jacksonville and really along the coastal areas is those occasional gusty winds. You're going to have sporadic power outages, but also that threat of flooding and tornadoes here too, as well as Glen Camden, Nassau County, but also you're going to look at that surge there right along the immediate coastline of southeastern areas of Georgia as well. All right, so it is 2 o'clock, but this is our latest update. The next update comes out at 5 a.m. Of course, myself and meteorologist Lou Turner will be here on Good Morning Jacksonville at First Coast News, of course, with the entire news team keeping you updated on this storm system. We'll see the latest cone and the latest information at that time. Plus, we start Good Morning Jacksonville at 4:30, so even leading into that, already giving you some of the latest information. I'm meteorologist Robert Spetta, First Coast News, on your side.
Stay with the First Coast's most accurate weather team. Stay safe and informed. Download the First Coast News app now. First Coast News, on your side.